Hey friends, Brooke-Sidney here. Stop forcing yourself to believe affirmations that feel like a lie. Because the affirmations you don't believe are actually the fastest way for you to uncover what's blocking your manifestation. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to turn it into an ASKfirmation that not only gives you some relief, but helps you manifest faster. But before we do, I just want to welcome you all. Hello, I'm Brooke-Sidney. I am the host and creator of Make Miracles Manifest. I'm also your favorite mindset and manifestation coach. And here on this channel, we talk all about reprogramming ourselves and our minds so we can make miracles manifest. And the big part of it is shifting our identity. Because here our story creates our identity and our identity creates our reality. And today I'm going to show you step by step, right? This is essentially an ASKfirmations Masterclass on how you can use affirmations that feel like a lie, like they don't even feel true, like you can't get behind them, how we can use them to actually manifest even quicker. Let's get into it. So the first thing that I want you to do is stop forcing the affirmation that feels like a lie, right? Stop forcing it. Stop making yourself believe it. I know there are channels out there that are telling you that if you keep forcing yourself long enough to say this thing over and over again, it's going to shift everything. And sometimes it will, and sometimes it won't. This video is for those of you that are like, hey, it doesn't resonate with me, or you've been trying that and it hasn't worked. This video is also for the people that are smart enough now to realize that sometimes when we say things over and over again that we don't believe, it's actually illuminating the gap between the identity of where we currently are when we're real with ourselves and where we want to be. And oftentimes our nervous system and our true resistance is showing us that big gap. We have a big gap between our current self and our future self. So rather than continuing to just say that over and over again and like poke like holes in it and throw salt on the wound, let's go to my technique. And my technique is helping my clients manifest quicker. So next, let's talk about ASKfirmations. What are they and how do we use them? So most of us know about affirmations, which is essentially a thought or a belief that we are trying to implant into our subconscious mind, basically a way to rewire the way that we believe, the way that we think, and ultimately the way that we feel. Because all of this has to work on our nervous system. It has to work on how we feel. Feeling is the secret, feeling our emotional guidance system, all of those, all the manifestation teachers say the same thing. So we can reprogram our mind, but that mind has to shift into our heart or our nervous system or the way that we feel so that we can shift our identity, right? So with affirmations, normally we're just saying those words over and over and over again. But a lot of us have found that those words like feel false. They just don't really resonate. And so what I would like you to do is when that comes up, I want you to begin exploring that thought, exploring that feeling that comes up with a question. I want you to use an ASKfirmation to basically turn that forced belief, that forced affirmation into a question so that we can explore it and then find something that actually resonates with you personally. And questions, I know that I'm a lawyer, but questions actually naturally cause the brain to search for the answers. They search us to explore like what feels true, why, what can I do? What are the possibilities? And in that space, that's where kind of this manifestation magic, I think, happens for the ASKfirmations. So let me give you an example. Let's use money. Everybody knows money. One of the common ones is I am wealthy or money always comes to me. But if you're saying that over and over and over again and you're being like, nah, money doesn't come to me. I'm looking at my bank account. I'm looking at it right now. I want to go out to eat. I want to DoorDash, but I can't do that. Or, I know for a fact that I can't go out and buy that Louis Vuitton purse or whatever it is that you want. Like, that you are not wealthy. You just know it. And so saying it over and over again, I am wealthy, I am wealthy, I am wealthy, is not ringing true. And perhaps you've been trying this for 3 months. Perhaps you've been trying it for 3 weeks, but you know that it's not working. So what if you start examining that belief? Like, well, what do you feel like? Well, maybe you start feeling like, money is hard for me to get. Money is hard for me to hold on to. Maybe you're writing that down. And when you're honest with yourself, you feel like maybe I'm not good with money. Now, let's do my technique. It is to flip that negative emotion or flip that negative thought or belief or the thing that's not serving you into a question that then helps you get to a better place. So if you're like, wow, I feel like I always spend my money really quickly, I'm not really good with money, then you'd ask yourself, what if you were good with money, right? What if getting money felt amazing to you? What if money coming in you felt more confident about? There's your affirmation. You don't have to jump immediately to I am wealthy. You're baby stepping yourself there, and you are actually now becoming a better receiver, a better receptacle to actually get more money, because your nervous system can get on board with things like, why is money becoming easier for me to receive? Why am I starting to get better with money? Why is money coming in and I'm feeling confident with how I can use it? Why am I getting better with understanding how to use my money? Why am I getting better with managing my money? Why is money becoming easier for me to get? Why is money becoming easier for me to receive? I want you to sit with that, and I want you to try those on for size, because I don't even need to preach this. You can actually feel it in your nervous system. You can feel yourself saying, I am wealthy, I am wealthy, I am wealthy. And if that's jazzing you and you're feeling all great and getting goosebumps, go ahead with it. But if you're like the rest of us, when you ask a question like, why am I starting to see more ways to make money? Why am I seeing wealth building strategies coming to me? Why am I getting so much better with money? Why am I starting to understand how money works? Why is thinking about money and thinking about the money I have getting easier or feeling more fun for me? Those ASKfirmations are going to help you build your wealth consciousness and your wealth mentality and your wealth manifestations faster than jamming I am wealthy into yourself over and over again. The other thing that I want to talk about is that the affirmation that feels like a lie to you is actually your biggest clue about the story that you are running. So just how I was just explaining with the money story, instead of like getting really down on yourself for whatever you're feeling or whatever affirmation isn't working for you right now, look at it and say, that is the story for today. I now have a new technique. I have Brooke-Sidney's AskFirmation technique, and I'm going to use this and transform how I feel, how I think about this particular thing. It doesn't matter if it's money. It doesn't matter if it's your SP or love or, moving or anything. Know that we can transform it all, especially when we actually register and acknowledge how we truly feel about something and how we truly think about something. When something comes up and it starts making us feel anxious or making us feel depressed or making us feel like this will never happen for me, right? Like you start seeing that gap that I talked about earlier becoming bigger and bigger. Instead of thinking about it as being like the end of the manifestation for you, I want you to think about it as being the beginning, because it is in that gap that the transformation occurs. It is in that gap where we can use this AskFirmation technique to empower us to think about our lives differently and, more importantly, about ourselves differently. And that is ultimately what changes our identity. It first changes the story around it. Again, going back to the money. Instead of now thinking that we're terrible with money or that we're going to be instantly wealthy and we know that's not going to work, we back it up and we say, wow, I was feeling down about myself because I don't like what my checking account looks like. I don't like the fact that I feel like I am terrible with money. So we address those root issues. We address those root beliefs. We address those stories. That's what you have given power to. So instead of like band-aiding it with this affirmation that, is not sitting, right? It's not resonating. It's not working. Instead, let's address the root story and your root feeling and then transform that into an AskFirmation that's going to help you manifest even quicker. So if you are having trouble, right, with that was like the quick and easy, quick and dirty reasons and ways to transform your negative beliefs or the fact that the affirmations feel like a lie. I want to walk you through, I feel like, kind of like step 2 of how to use that negative emotion. And I'm going to give you some key questions that you can ask yourself to uncover the belief, to uncover the thing that feels like a lie, so that we can create these affirmations and start manifesting a lot quicker. So I want you to use self inquiry to find this belief. That's what we were doing before in my like 0 to 100 method. But here are some questions. First, I want you to ask yourself, and it doesn't matter what area of your life this is, it doesn't even matter the desire, but ask yourself what you truly believe about it. And then ask, well, if it's an affirmation that feels like a lie, why don't I believe this? And then ask what you believe instead. That's going to be very, very illuminating. What do you believe instead? And then, because so much of us start feeling anxiety about something, ask yourself, what am I afraid that will happen? I'm one of the few people that actually believes that we're afraid of success, or we're afraid of being wealthy. I don't actually believe that. I've never had a client actually be afraid of being wealthy or afraid of success. They're often afraid of now, being the person that everyone comes to and asks for money, right? Or the fact that if they get money, they're not going to know how to handle it. Or that, they're not going to feel comfortable with their certain group of friends or their certain family, right? Are you getting my drift? So we want to get below those surface things that we hear. Like, this channel is not for the surface. It's not for the artificial. It's not for band-aid solutions. I'm helping you and my clients go that level deeper so that we can manifest faster. So in the same way, we want to find out what we're really afraid of. Right? We're not afraid of success. We might be afraid now that we're going to have to always be public speaking, or we might be afraid now that we're always going to be out front, or we're going to have time away from our families. Those are the real fears, and those are the fears that we can address with the ASKfirmations and the way that we craft the messaging for our own personal subconscious. Another question that I think that is very useful to ask is, what past experience are we using as proof? Right? Oftentimes we feel like us becoming wealthy is a lie because, maybe we grew up in a situation where our parents didn't have money or were always arguing over money. And so once we can kind of see that the past experience is not our experience, or start creating ASKfirmations that address that past experience that is living inside of us, that's how we move past it. We don't move past it by ignoring it. Okay, I think you guys are getting what I'm putting down. And then it's back to the questions of what would need to be true for you to feel like it's possible? We can go back to our wealth management one. I am wealthy doesn't feel possible, but what could be true is that I am now going to be presented with opportunities to learn more about wealth. I am now open to receiving more ideas and strategies about how to manage my money. I am now getting better at managing my money. It is now getting easier for me to manage and grow my money. Hey, let's talk about wealth building. Let's talk about investing. I am now finding strategies that help me invest my money. These are ways that we can speak to ourselves and do the ASKfirmations, because it's going to bring more questions up that gives us more roots to the stories and the ways that we're believing to help us manifest quicker. And then I think a lot of times, I've been talking about this, I even did a recent short about it, is asking is that actually true? What you're saying about yourself, or what you're saying about a particular thing that happens to you, or even about a desire, we have to separate what is actually the fact and what is the story that we're making it mean, right? And so a lot of times when we are saying an affirmation, it doesn't feel true, and we want to know why. The key is to start asking ourselves, is this actually true? Is this actually a fact? Or is this something that we're just making up right now, right? Or it feels so true because, again, there's a past experience that we're anchored into. These questions are truly going to help you springboard, quantum leap your manifestations, because you are building a skill of self-reflection, identity work, understanding where your true stories and ideas and beliefs live. And then two, you are transforming them. This is what I do for my clients in my one-on-one manifestation sessions. And if you're watching this before August 15th, I have opened up a brand new program called the Manifesting Frequency Accelerator, where I'm taking 10 people only to walk them through this story uncovering and rewriting work that in essence helps us springboard and quantum leap into our manifestations faster by uprooting the stories that no longer serve us and replacing them with ones that do. So the last thing that I want to point out that we're doing with this process is that we're reversing the story. We're like, flipping the script. We're flipping the script. So if we're finding that, there's a story that is not working for us, let's use love this time, right? Because I have a lot of clients that are dealing with love. And oftentimes the root beliefs of like, I'm always chosen is that people never choose me. So what we want to do there is we want to actually flip that belief. We want to get to the root of the belief, right? We can go back to the last section and talk about, the questions that are maybe the reasons why we have that belief, which I find that it's very, very helpful in helping us formulate the new ASKfirmation and the new story we want to believe. So for reversing the story, for flipping the script, let's think about love. Most of us can relate to love. Let's take the idea that people always leave me, right? People always leave me. Because maybe your affirmation was like, love always finds me. I'm always lucky in love. Everybody loves me. Everybody chooses me. And your nervous system and your logical brain is going, hell no, that's not true. That's not true. I can look at all these experiences where that hasn't true. So let's flip the script. Let's flip that belief and provide like a bridge thought. So instead of jumping straight into everyone loves me and no one ever leaves me, let's find a bridge that our mind can actually entertain and get on board with. It could be, it's possible for me to find someone that can love me unconditionally. It's possible for me to find someone that can love me consistently. It's possible for me to find someone that can love me just for me. My past relationships don't have to predict my future ones. Or I like the idea that my past relationships have prepared me to be the right person and to know the things to have a healthier relationship in the future. Like, we can totally get behind that. We've all learned something from past relationships. Or there are people capable in this whole wide world full of billions of people to love me how I need to be loved. Again, we're not trying to create the most impressive affirmation. We're simply trying to create the next thought that feels believable and that we know that our mind, our subconscious mind, and our nervous system together can get on board with. So then, once we find those bridge sentiments, those bridge thoughts, the ones that our body and our mind can get on board with, that's when we turn them into a question. That's when we turn them into an ASKfirmation that our minds and our hearts can believe. So instead of everyone chooses me, you can try, why is it so easy for me to begin to experience relationships where I feel chosen and I feel cared for? Or why am I meeting more and more people that value consistency and commitment in a relationship? That feels way more believable than I am chosen, I am chosen, I am chosen. I mean, I don't know. You tell me. Why don't you tell me in the comments which ones are resonating with you? Or an old belief is like, money is hard to make. You can try on an ASKfirmation that is, why is making money becoming easier and easier for me? Why am I learning more ways to make money? Why am I being exposed to more opportunities to make money? And then I think that the test to all of this and the way that you know that your mind and your body is going to be able to use this ASKfirmation to speed up your manifestations is if you feel relief. If in your mind, if in your body, not only does it resonate, but it actually gives you like relief to say it to yourself, and bonus if it gives you hope, right? So you'll know you're on the right track when you feel relief, and you know that you're truly speeding it up when you feel a sense of hope. And then I think it makes it a lot easier. Again, this is the masterclass. So Definitely do one. Definitely do as many parts of this as you can, especially if you wish to speed it up. But the last key thing is I believe that you should script the new story. So after you've uncovered the belief behind the affirmation that feels like a lie, after you've like decided where it comes from, you've asked yourself these questions, you've done the self inquiry, you know what you truly believe, right? You know what the true story is. And then you develop these ASKfirmations that, not only flip the script on it, but feel believable. They feel a sense of relief. I really want you to implant that by the last step, and that is scripting out a new story for it. Use the ASKfirmations, use what you now believe to create a new story for yourself that not only feels believable, but feels good. And I want you to write it in like 5D. I want you to use all of your senses. And I want you to make it so that it does seem believable to you, right? I had one client when, even with looking and trying to get his SP back, it wasn't like, hey, we went all the way to France and we were doing all this stuff. No, he was like, she's going to talk to me in my living room. We're going to, have this great conversation, and then we're going to move to the bedroom and do whatever else, right? That is believable. Your mind, your heart, your body can get behind that. I want you to script that kind of story, because the realer that it feels, the quicker it makes your manifestation come. So today, I just want you to try this. Please try this with one affirmation that doesn't feel real, or one desire that you're having a hard time manifesting quickly. Try my framework. Again, this is the ASKfirmations Masterclass on how you can use them to manifest quicker. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to notice the affirmation that's creating resistance. Notice the affirmation that feels like a lie. Second, we want to question the emotion and belief underneath it. Third, we want to reverse that old assumption, that old story, that old belief into something that has possibility. Fourth, we then want to create our ASKfirmation, right? Which is our question form of an affirmation. 5, then we want to script our possible story, script our possible answers, script the thing that feels believable to us. And then I want you to return to this new story. I want you to return to it when things don't feel believable and when you need a sense of relief, right? That's how I have my clients use ASKfirmations, even affirmations, and scripting. It's a way to give yourself some relief, a way to kind of ground yourself back in your reality, the one that you are creating at this present moment, instead of allowing yourself to get distracted and triggered by the current reality, which is the past that's still present, if that makes sense. So the goal isn't to convince yourself of something that you don't believe. It is to keep finding thoughts that feel believable enough that your mind and your body, right, your nervous system, are willing to go there with you. And if you need help uncovering the beliefs, shifting the story and your identity, jump into the Manifesting Frequency Accelerator or book a one-on-one manifestation session. I'll see you in the next video.